Om Shanti, good morning and Merry Christmas to everyone. So Baba today is talking about how he is a grahasti, and this refers to a family person. Our translation always talks about householder, which has to do with material stuff, but I think Baba's not concerned about material stuff, but with the children. So he has a wife, which is Brahma Baba. So he's probably the first man to marry a man. There are a few men who get married with each other, so they are following Baba. Baba's not a man. He keeps calling himself him, right? Father, that's fairly masculine. Teacher, could be anything. Satguru, bodiless. But he does never say for Brahma Baba that he's my husband, he's my wife. And all of you are brothers, so you're all sons. Then through Brahma Baba, he gets some daughters, because you could be males or females depending on the current body that you occupy. But your body is a car, so nobody says, I am a Ferrari, I am a Mercedes, I am a Toyota. No, I am a soul, and I drive one car or another. I was thinking about Ashtavakra. It's nothing to do with the Murli today, but people didn't like Ashtavakra because he didn't have a beautiful body. So you could say that his body problem was beauty, but beauty is in the eye of the beholder, as you know. So one of the things that is an obstacle in terms of becoming soul conscious is that you see other people in terms of their body color, color of eyes, color of hair, nationality, and all those things. So I think that the problem of Ashtavakra was that he didn't have the body that corresponded to the body of the other people there. And if you think that in the Brahmin family, there are people of all different races and religions and nationalities and cultures and so on, but the dominant culture is from India, right? And that too, northern India, and that too, Sindh. And so the further away you get from that origin, the more you might fit into the category of Ashtavakra, because you're different. And so people who see the physical differences are what is said in that story, they are the cobblers, the chamar. So we have to see the soul, and anyone who's a BK is deemed to have had something in the region of 84 births, right? We don't have any BKs who only have 3 births. It won't work, because unless you come from the ancient times, you wouldn't recognize Baba or the Gyan in this way. This is the original family. The essence, sweet children, you have received plenty of godly happiness. That means you have received plenty of depth of understanding of Gyan, which enables you to have a perspective on what's going on, such that you are free. You think everything that happened, is happening, and will happen is good. So what's the problem? So this is plenty of godly happiness. And therefore, do not be concerned about the happiness of Maya, because that happiness is comparable to the droppings of a crow. Why the droppings of a crow? People who are constipated, when they finally relieve themselves, they feel very happy. Yeah. But, you know, that happiness doesn't last very long. This is why people say, I have to go and relieve myself, you know. Means they're in trouble. They need relief. So, yeah. The question is, what hope does the Father have for all his children? And the answer is that all his children study well, that they really take the knowledge and make themselves happy with it, and they then become seated on the throne. That means to sit on the Father's shoulders. So who sits on the Father's shoulders? His favorite child. So Baba sees how much fragrance each one spreads. Fragrance is your vibration, your qualities, your virtues, and that they do not smell bad. So smelling bad means you have a bad vibration. So therefore, you children should engage yourself in this spiritual effort. Do not perform any negative karma through your physical organs. That means don't get into lust. And the song is, though the world may turn away, I promise I will not turn away. So Baba has predicted that a time will come when everyone doesn't like Brahma Kumaris for some reason. We don't know what yet. But when such a situation happens, what will be your position? Will you stay or will you go? Because the predominant view will be, don't go there. And those who have the third eye will say, the tree is getting pruned. Pruning is okay. You chop off dead branches, this and that. So, Om Shanti. The Father will explain a little of the essence of the song. There is no question of turning away from anyone. The child can never say to their father, I am not your child, but they do sometimes turn away. In fact, children can never stop belonging to their father. They remain his children, but they do become separated from the family. This one here is the unlimited Father. And he says, I was living in my supreme abode, and just as you souls come here to play your parts, and you get into families, in the same way, I have come here and become the family man. It says here householder, but it's really family man. He doesn't worry about buildings and stuff, pay taxes, doesn't do that. Here, you personally call me mother and father. Although earlier also in the path of bhakti, you used to call out and say, you are the mother and father, but I was not a family man at that time. Now I have become a family person at this time, but I am not a family person with 2 or 4 children. So many children continue to come. Baba has at least 1 million children. Those who have said, I am BK, I am Sheep Baba's child through Brahma Baba, etc. This is his children. Although they say they will not turn away, but Maya makes them turn away. The Father is the highest on high. There cannot be a Father higher than him. He has entered the body of an ordinary man. Your children know that you receive your property for your future 21 births according to the effort you make now. It means the extent to which you understand and adopt and live by the knowledge. That means it impacts your karma. So this creates your 21 births fortune. There are many who turn away while moving along because this is a war with Maya. Previously, you belonged to Maya, but the Father has now adopted you. On that side, there is the happiness of Maya. So Maya is all the things you identify with, your body, your social status, your stuff, your wife and children, husband. So there isn't that type of happiness here. And so the happiness of Maya pulls you. Here you have incognito happiness. You know that you will have a lot of happiness in the future. Happiness also refers to wealth. So as a BK, you don't have much physical wealth, but you have a big wealth of information. They say knowledge is power, right? Have you heard that? Knowledge is power. And power means you do what you want. That's like wealth. If your intellect, if you are attracted to the happiness of here, the Iron Age, and physical objects and things, property and all, you continue to remember that. And you will still remember that at the end. So do not be concerned about the happiness of Maya. It's like a promise, wealth, people, all this. They say that the happiness here is like the droppings of a crow. And you children know that you will receive happiness, wealth, relationships, health, beauty in heaven. You belong to the mother and father for the purpose of receiving that happiness of heaven. The father definitely became the householder, the family man at some point, and it is because of that that they call him the mother and father. So householder, you can understand, doesn't mean householder, but family man. They sing this, but they don't understand anything. You children now know that he is the unlimited father and also the mother. And he has adopted you with this mother, that is, with Prajapita Brahma. So now, Prajapita and Shiva are both fathers. And a father adopts someone through a mother. So to whom would you sing the song, you are the mother and you are the father? Right? There's Bap Dada, Brahma Baba and Shiva Baba both together, that's the mother and the father. So would you sing it to Shiva Baba or to Brahma Baba? You sing that you are all brothers and that he is the father, so there's no question of a mother in that. Our souls are all brothers, so they don't need a mother because they're already there. There's no question of a mother in this, but it is sung, you are the mother and father. So how he becomes the mother and father is something wonderful that has to be understood. But people become confused because the body that he uses is male. And because of that, another mother is adopted, Saraswati. She became the Jagat Amba Saraswati, mother of the Yagya. So she is adopted and she is Brahma Baba's daughter, Saraswati. But adoption cannot take place through a daughter. So the adoption is through Brahma, who is the mother, but a male. So then Saraswati became like a surrogate mother for taking care of the children. So this one is the mother, Brahma Baba, the mother, as well as the father. And that one, Shiv Baba, entered into this one. And this is why he himself says to Brahma, you are my child and you are my wife. So the father truly adopts you with this one. And so then this one also becomes the mother. Nevertheless, the father says, you have to remember me, Shiv Baba. People in the world wear different varieties of lockets. So if they have somebody they love, they will put, in those days, Brahma Baba's days, they used to put a piece of hair of that person in the locket. Then they put photographs. And the religious people, they had little tiny Gitas they would put in a locket. So a locket was quite interesting. Have you seen a locket? It's like an oval form, and it has doors. You can open them both sides, or it has a compartment inside. So that one is the father. And the father says, children, forget everything about yourselves. That means all your physical ID details. Forget everything, including your bodies, your bodily relations, and have yoga with the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul. Have yoga means that you have everything, all the things that you need to be fulfilled, emotional needs, and even all other needs, you get fulfilled by Shiv Baba. And this is where the question of trustee comes in. All the things that you have, you say, this is given to me by God, and you use it as a trustee. So in that way, you amplify that He is your provider. You children have been given the order, remember me, the Father. Order, recommendation, suggestion, like that. Remember me, the Father. I enter this one and I teach you Raj Yoga. There's no question of inspiration in this. Baba does not work through inspiration. Many people, they say, oh, I was inspired by God to go and set this house on fire and kill this person and do various things. No. Everything has to happen according to drama. Your sins will be neutralized through the remembrance of the Father. But when you remember bodily beings, then your time is wasted. How much time do you spend thinking about people that you're attached to? That time is not wasted. When you connect your intellects in yoga with others, then you are actually not following the Father's recommendations. Effort is required to remember the Father. So you say, I will now meditate, and what comes in your mind is other things and other people. So then you have to deviate your mind away from them. But the mind will go where there is attachment. And you will get attachment to those with whom you are in karmic involvement. So when you disconnect your karmic involvement with people and do karma with people as an actor performing a role, then you don't get into karmic involvement. It's a very subtle thing, very deep, important thing to know. So Baba says, it is in this that mistakes get made. The Father says, you are my lovers. So make effort to remember me, the beloved, while walking and moving around. Make effort doesn't mean do hard labor, because that's never going to work. But it means that just realize that he's the only one who will actually satisfy you emotionally, physically, socially, etc., etc. In the Gita, it says, God speaks, constantly remember me alone. Renounce bodily relations, including your relationship with your own body, and consider yourself to be a soul. So relationship means belong, possession. So renounce your bodily relations and your own body means dispossess yourself of the feeling of possessiveness. That is what it means. Who is telling you this? Is it Shiv Baba or is it Sri Krishna? Whom should you remember? Sri Krishna doesn't live at the confluence age. The soul of Sri Krishna is definitely here. He is also studying and he is also teaching others. And he will become, in his next birth, the number one prince. And there are others with him as well. Radhe is also with him. So Saraswati becomes Radhe. But he is the first prince. Radhe takes birth later. So the first is this one's name. These are such deep matters. So he's the first actual deity that gets born. So before the deities, there are what we call the advance party, which are, in English, you call them demigods. And in Hindi, I don't think there is a concept of demigods, is there? No. So in English, a demigod is somebody who's really half human and half deity. So we could say that for the advanced party people, because they will not be full deities, because they'll still be born through normal methods, but they will not be vice-based. So we could say demigods for them. So Baba says these are such deep matters. And this is why the Father says, take up the main topic, main subject of this university, that the Gita is not sung by Krishna, and Krishna cannot be called God. It is in this topic that you have to win. Only the one Father establishes three dharmas: Brahmin, deity, and Kshatriya, the warrior dharmas. So the first is deityism, then Islam. So Islam includes Judaism, and then Buddhism and Christianity. And I think that the something like Tao and Shinto and these other Buddhist type religions, which are non-theistic, will go under the category of Buddhism. And then Christianity is separated because it has a large number of people in it, and it has a very large political influence. So that's all. But there are many smaller religions also. Smaller means the less population. Sadgati is received from the God of the Gita. So Sadgati means you arrive at the golden age via the soul world. The bestower of Sadgati for all is the one Father. So Sadgati for all is they arrive in the golden stage of whenever they come on the earth, in whichever religion they belong to. And they go through gold, silver, copper, iron. The world guru of all is the one Satguru. And Satguru means the one who gives Sadgati. So a guru is somebody who takes you to liberation and then liberation in life in the golden age. You can explain this to everyone very well. All students have the right to study very well the Murli that Baba speaks. All students have the right to the Murli, to have a copy of the Murli. And it's only now that we have the Murli on the internet that everyone can actually get the Murli. Those who are interested in the Murli will definitely read it 3 or 4 times. You should not be concerned about anything apart from the Murli, because this is your source. If someone studies the Murli very well 5 to 8 times, he can go ahead of his teacher. Each of you has to make progress. In fact, Brahmin teachers are the, what he says in English, most obedient servants. So most obedient servant refers to the Viceroy of India. And that means if you are in a position of high responsibility, it means that you are serving. So you serve this position of responsibility. If your intellects are caught up in food and drink, then you will remember that at the time of dying. So caught up in food and drink means there are people who can only eat certain food and drink according to their culture, right? If you don't get pizza, it's a problem, right? Could be. But some people, they have to have certain type of food. So if you continue to take personal service from others at this time, everything will be finished for you. A personal service means that you get somebody to do something for you that you could do for yourself. So those who are engaged in doing service will definitely remain constantly obedient. Obedient means not they will obey anybody, but it means that they will understand their responsibilities and they will fulfill it. That's what he means by obedient. For example, child Janak, this is Dadi Janki. She never takes personal service from anyone. She would do everything herself. But some people develop this habit, don't even ask. When they can't find someone to wash their clothes, they get sick. They're very, very dependent on somebody doing everything for you, or they can't go anywhere. So you mustn't be demanding in this. Be a server and do service. The Father, too, is a server, and he says, I am the highest on high. There's an interesting sentence in the Christian Bible which says, those who stand and wait are also serving. So even if you're not doing something that's visibly service, but you're there, it's still service, you're present. So he says, I am the highest on high, and I enter such an ordinary body. I do not ask for a horse and carriage, etc. This one is still the father, Brahma, and it is the children's duty to serve their father after his retirement. So there were people who would take care of Brahma Baba's needs, and they enjoyed that very much because they got close to him and got a close relationship. This is Shiv Baba's chariot, And yet, Baba does not take service from the children. So you children have to pay full attention to your studies. If you study and teach others in a disciplined way, so accordingly you will rule the kingdom in the golden age. So disciplined way means that if you have a disciplined life, you'll always be on time. You'll sleep on time, eat on time, get things done when they have to get done. It's a disciplined life. There is nothing unlawful in the golden age. So unlawful means like chaotic, or the weather isn't out of order, and things are not going out of harmony, out of order. And so we can say the golden age is a very choreographed place. Everything is ordered in the golden age. So become accurate in every aspect. Do the right thing at the right time in the right way, etc. We are becoming the princes and princesses of the world. And so we are studying those manners here. So I don't know if you know about this, but people who are royals, they have a lot of disciplines that they have to follow, no ifs, ands, or buts. And because they are the servers of the people, and so there are expectations and requirements. You have to fulfill those. You can't say, oh, I don't feel like it. No. So a royal is very, very disciplined. You have to be. And there's all kinds of people around you who make sure you are. And they have to have a lot of correct behavior, and they have to know diplomacy. They have to know how to interact with other kings and queens and presidents and this and that. So there is so much praise of Krishna as the great prince. Krishna's name is greater than the name of his father. Nobody really knows the name of his father, Vasudev or something like this, right? The first child who's born as a deity is born to parents who are demigods. So they would not be higher. Otherwise, normally, according to the system of the cycle, whoever is older is higher than whoever is younger, because they come earlier in the drama. The parents of Radha and Krishna cannot get as many marks in the spiritual exam as Radha and Krishna do themselves. So Radha and Krishna study the highest study to the highest level. Krishna receives the maximum marks, but he still has to take birth somewhere. And those to whom he takes birth do not receive as much regard as he does. Nevertheless, the name of Krishna the child is glorified. These matters are very incognito. These are matters for chit-chat. So what is chit-chat? Baba used to have what's called the chamber class after the Murli. And so a small number of people who were very, very good in understanding the knowledge and yoga, so they would get together with Baba after the Murli, and they would discuss finer points. So this is example of the kind of finer points that they would discuss. And these are not written down, so nobody knows what they are. But when the daddies would talk to us, they would tell us all this stuff. Now there's no more daddies, so all this is now vanished. But that's okay. These are matters for chit-chat. The main thing is to consider yourself to be bodiless souls. I am a child of the unlimited Father. This is the main thing. And I have to become full with all the virtues here. As yet, no one has become complete. That means complete with all the virtues. All of you are effort makers. So effort makers means you are still in the process of becoming. Baba sees the result of this one too. Baba is evaluating Brahma Baba. This Brahma will become the highest of all, and this is why it is said, follow the Father. Follow the Father until the end. So he, sometimes Shiv Baba says that Brahma Baba is an encyclopedia of how to apply the knowledge in practical situations, and that includes leaving your body. So whatever happens in the drama is understood to be right. There cannot be any doubts about anything. Doubts means, why did this happen? That's called a doubt. If your mother dies, eat halva, remain manmanabhav. You don't need to feel the sorrow. You understand that someone has left the body, but you don't get out of order over it. You don't get distraught over it, because you know the soul is forever. You will meet again, no doubt, and the body is going, and death is a part of life. So whatever is fixed in the drama will continue to take place. You know, in the destruction, there's a lot of death. And that includes a lot of death of your relatives. And you have to be able to handle it. So all of these things that Baba is saying, if your mother dies, eat halva, means use these occasions, which normally would be very big emotional trauma when someone dies, who you're very close to, who you're very attached to. Practice from now to manage these, because this will help you later on. So whatever is fixed in the drama will continue to take place. It is predestined in the eternal drama. There are many things that are fixed in the drama which go against what you think they should be and what other people think they should be. And so when something's fixed in the drama, there's a conflict, because you have to go where Baba puts you, but the other people don't like it. And so which will you choose? You have free choice. You go where Baba puts you, or you go where people who are attached to you want you to go. So it's a conflict of attachment, or go with what the drama is demanding. Whatever is fixed continues to take place. It is the duty of you children to make spiritual effort and make your lives as valuable as diamonds. Do not perform negative karma through your senses. Means keep your thorns, keep your boundaries, and don't let yourself get invaded, and stay with pure karma. Do not just be content with whatever is in your fortune, but create your fortune. Make the effort. Give your full news to Baba. That means tell him what's going on. Baba doesn't know anything about some centers. So this is like a big multinational corporation, the BK organization. So what is happening in any center, send news to Baba. There are many centers. Some continue to do service at a Gicha Pachala without a Brahmin teacher. It is number wise. Those who do service well climb into the Father's heart, and they become seated on the throne. So if you please Baba, you will please everyone, right? So the Father's desire is the children should study well and become seated on the Father's shoulders. There's just one exam, but so much variety in the status. What is the exam? The exam is go to God, regardless of what's going on. That's the exam. Each flower gives its own fragrance, and some flowers even smell really quite bad. There are some children who perform wonders. Everyone praises Prem and Manohar and Didi. Do you know these people? Prem was a sister who was very close to Daddy Janki, and she was looking after Dehradun, which is where there are a lot of these gurus, as one of the sacred places of India. So she used to serve the gurus. And she left the body a little while ago. Manohar Dadi, one of the original Brahma Kumaris, she also left the body. Didi Manmohini, she left. But they don't even mention the names of some. The Father has to make so much effort to make the impure ones pure. He makes those who are like monkeys into those who are suitable to be placed in a temple. There are all varieties. The Sun dynasty, the Moon dynasty, the king, the subjects, the poor, the wealthy, etc. You should make effort to claim a high status. Otherwise, you will have the same status birth after birth, and you will have a lot of repentance that you did not claim your full inheritance from Baba. A teacher or guru would also ask you to follow him, follow in his footsteps, be like him. Here, the Father, the teacher, and the guru are all one. He is the Supreme Father, the Supreme Teacher, and the Supreme Guru. That incorporeal one is knowledgeful. Only from him do you receive this inheritance. He is the bestower of salvation, Sadgati, to all. Everyone is doing sadhana. Sadhana is the effort. If you are a sadhu, you do sadhana. So it's a meditation. So everyone makes this spiritual endeavor to attain him. As the sages, the sadhus, are the ones who do sadhana. It's a kind of spiritual practice. In that case, how can they grant liberation to anyone if they're already trying to get liberation themselves? You need very good strategies to explain this. Even the people who you invite to inaugurate exhibitions need to understand what this is first, so that they can tell others that the exhibition is one that makes people become like diamonds. This is, they invite VIPs to inaugurate the exhibition. Baba wanted VIPs all the time, but VIPs are not interested. So you have to make them do something that they're willing to do, like inaugurate an exhibition. So these exhibitions have been created according to the directions of the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul. Someone who is able to explain to others should be invited to inaugurate an exhibition. One day, eminent people will come to you to understand, and sannyasis will also come. They will sit in the sannyasi dress and understand this knowledge. I was involved in one program in Madhuban where they had 100 sannyasis sitting on the big stage, and there were a few of us. I was one of them also on that stage. So they were all in kind of red clothes and we were in white, Father Christmas. And quite a few of them did have a lot of regard for Brahmakumaris and some understanding of the Gyan, but they didn't become BKs. So Baba now gives you directions. Man mana bhav. Remember Baba and you will become pure. Destruction is just ahead of you. And the father says, I have become such a big householder, big family man. He has a big family of 1 million kids. Can you imagine handling 1 million kids, Annabelle? I follow the greatest household dharma, pravruti marg. So the dharma of how you can handle a big family on the basis of spiritual principles. Such is my part in the drama. You children should make effort to claim a high status. Make effort and become seated on the throne of the mother and father. We are the children of Shiv Baba. Have this internal intoxication or ecstasy. We will not be any less than Baba. That means Brahma Baba. Get up to his level. Acha. To the sweetest, beloved, long lost, and now found children, love, remembrance, and good morning from the mother, the father, Bab Dada, and the spiritual father says namaste to the spiritual children. The spiritual children say namaste to the spiritual father. In the essence, for dharna, become a true server like the father. Do not take personal service from anyone. Be obedient. That means fulfill your responsibilities. And then secondly, whatever scene takes place in the drama is right. Are you comfortable with all the scenes in the drama? Yeah, getting there. Do not have any doubts about it. You know, even things which are really very negative and damaging and traumatic and unfair, unjust, unreasonable, etc., they're there for a reason. And you can not discern the reason at that time, generally speaking, but later on you come to understand that it became an instrument to enable you to get where you're going. And if it hadn't been for that, you would not have reached where you did reach. So from that angle, it's quite okay. Make effort to make your life as valuable as a diamond. All these things make you experienced. And once you're experienced, then you become an authority. Baba talks about the authority of experience. So if you don't have any experience, nobody will take you seriously. That's the way it goes. The blessing is, may you belong to your own land and stay beyond considering this old world to be a foreign place for you. What is our own land? The soul world. We belong to nirvana. And we pop down to earth to see what's going on there. And then this is called a foreign land because it's the land of Ravan, right? So we also belong to the golden age, right? You should be in paradise. What are you doing in hell? Doesn't suit you. But you have to. You can't get to heaven without going through hell. So if you're going through hell, keep going. Some people do not touch anything from abroad because they believe they should only use things from their own land. It's very common, right? You want American-made objects, right? This is promoted. So in India also they say we don't want foreign things. We want our own stuff because foreign things are imported. That means your wealth is going out of the country. But if you use your own production, then your wealth stays inside. This is the idea. So in the same way, this old world is foreign for you. And so you need to stay beyond the attractions of it. That means anything that belongs to the old world, including your nature and sanskaras, it's all your conditioning, how you're raised, how you think according to the ways of the world. But do not be even slightly attracted to those ways, but have love for your own land. That means consider yourself to be a dweller of the supreme abode, the world of nirvana, as a soul. And also, you are a resident of Madhuban in terms of the divine family. So all your place of service is temporary. But your home is Madhuban and you go out on service, right? So maintain this intoxication. And the slogan is, instead of being trapped in a jamela, in a chaos, stay in the mela of a meeting. So there can be chaos going on all around you, but you are with God. He is with you. Then you just go through the chaos. It's okay. Om Shanti. So Shiv Baba, the family man, he has 1 million children in one birth. He's different. And his wife is an older man. And he needs the woman to look after all the children. So one of his daughters becomes the mother. It happens in big families in the world that the eldest daughter plays the role of the mother. Many times it's like this. So all of these things, these ways of the world, they get initiated by Shiv Baba and how he interacts with the humans. And right now, everyone is in a dysfunctional family to a greater or lesser extent. So what is the meaning of dysfunctional? It's whether it's violence, whether it's injustice, whether it's disequilibrium, where there is misbehavior of different varieties, and so all of this is going on. You know, partly the karmic accounts between people render the family dysfunctional for everybody else. And if you think of the extended family, include all your cousins and in-laws and all those people, there's people who are sick, people who are a little bit crazy, people who are this, people who are that, and the whole thing is very difficult to manage, right? And so Shiv Baba arrives in the middle of all that, and he says, have all relationships with me because I know how to relate. It's really very interesting that he teaches us how to relate to each other by how he relates to us. And anyway, he doesn't have any karmic accounts with anybody, so that's already a big plus. And in our relationship with Shiv Baba, if anything goes wrong, it's not because he did anything wrong, but it's because our stuff got in the way and created a problem in the relationship. But he didn't have any stuff that gets in the way. So anything that gets in the way of our relationship with Shiv Baba is always because of something that we didn't figure out, that we didn't understand how to deal with that particular situation. You see. And he lets us know if we're on the right track by being close to us, tangibly close to us. And if we're on the wrong track, then he becomes more distant. And this is how he lets you know you're on the right track or the wrong track. Is it right? Seems that way. And he does also test us because he doesn't want us to be reliant on him in such a way that we neglect to take responsibility where we have to be responsible. And so he talked about, and this word obedient, and in English, when you hear the word obedient, you really don't like it, right? I don't know any English-speaking person who has a good relationship with that word. So we have to see what he means by that. And that is that he gives us recommendations and he lets us understand what are our responsibilities. So we have responsibilities to ourselves, which must be fulfilled. And if we don't fulfill our responsibility to ourselves, then we're doing something negative. And we have responsibilities in the part that we play. And we have to learn how to play that part according to the laws of spirituality, which are very different from the social systems of the Iron Age. So you're fulfilling your responsibilities according to the laws of spirituality, and that other people will not like it because they want you to do everything according to the conventions of the world, which means, you have to be selfish, you have to be attached, you have to be do according to whoever is in the position of power, whether it's right or wrong. These are the ways of the world. And Baba says, you don't have to do that at all. This is a role, and these are situations, and they are unpleasant situations, no doubt, but he gives you enough information so that you can function in a crazy, dysfunctional, unpleasant situation in a correct manner according to the laws of spirituality. And this is called yoga, is skill in action. And that's really very, very good that he teaches us. And if people don't like it when you do the right thing, which is very often, so what? You're doing the right thing. And because you're being taught directly by Shiv Baba every day, you're doing the right thing. Even if somebody doesn't like it, it doesn't mean that you must doubt yourself. But because they don't like what you're doing, who you're becoming, and so on, they react because you're not coming under their influence. That's why they don't like it. But when you are an actor in a drama and you're playing a role, the question of being under the influence of another person cannot arise. Otherwise, you can't be an actor. Because how you play your part as an actor has to do with your art and skill as an actor of playing a situation so that the situation reaches a point of equilibrium. So it's an unstable situation which becomes stable depending on how you play that situation. But when you're under the influence of the people, then they don't allow you to play according to the laws of spirituality, and they want to make sure that the situation remains unstable. And your mastery is you say, no, I don't buy that. I will do what makes the situation stable. And that's that. And that means you're not under anyone's power. You're under the power of God, but not anybody else's power. And so they will try many, many games to get you under their power, to get you to doubt yourself. And this is all the constant testing that goes on all the time. Because people get control of you by making you feel less than. That's the game. And because people desire to be greater than, they can achieve that by making you feel less than, but which is an illusion because they do not become greater than by doing that, right? How can that be greater than? It's illusory. So this is called Maya. Baba wants us to have a high status. He said, you must make a high status. What is a high status? A high status is that you are the master of what you do. You do what you do by being Shiv Shakti. That means you are with God as you do this and that. And you are fulfilling your responsibility to yourself. You understand your role. It's just a role. It's not an identity. It's a role. But people keep on trying to tell you this is your identity. But it's not. They say, you are such and such, therefore. And you have to say, well, first of all, I'm not such and such. There's a part that I play. So there's no therefore. Doesn't follow. And the correct way to play the part is something that you create for yourself. You see the different relationships, mother, friend, brother, father, assistant, coordinator, whatever the role is called. Roles have a name, right? And so in that role, you play the scene so that you remain your own master. Regardless if it's a high role or a low role, doesn't make any difference because you're an actor. And this is a drama. And so this knowledge of drama is really very good to help you to stay in that stage. So he gave the example, okay, if your mother dies, eat halva. So if your mother dies, anyway, God is already your mother and father. So if your mother dies, you have a good relationship with your mother, you will feel loss, no doubt, but it will not disturb you. It will not upset you. It will, you knew in advance it's going to happen. So when a person goes, you let them go because you know that no one can get lost. And that your mother is not your mother, but a soul who played this role for X number of years. And they played it however they played it. And you played your role however you played it. And then when there is separation through death, then that's it, end of that role. And all of these teachings that he gives us is preparation for the very difficult exams of the destruction where you will lose people who are close to you. They will die from COVID, they will die from typhoons, they will die from car accidents, they will die from some illness. This is the time he said the other day, storms of death. Very, very large things happen. And these are trauma for the survivors. And the destruction is so traumatic that people will not be able to handle that trauma. But as a BK, if you use this preparation sufficiently, you will be able to manage that trauma without getting completely traumatized. So all of these things, sometimes people say there's something wrong with how we approach things as actors in a drama. It's because they don't know what it's for. They don't know what's going to happen. And Baba is telling us, no, all these things will happen. And they are all in the drama. It's a film. And this knowledge that it's a film gives you distance. And it also means that if you get a role that you think you're not up for, but the director of the drama will direct you and say, okay, even if you think you're not up for it, this is your part. So this is how you have to play it. And then you play it. And so it's doable. Yes? And Raj Yoga is such a thing that you don't really know what it is. Slowly, slowly, over the years, you begin to discover what it is. This is why it's very difficult for people to say, what is this? What is this Brahma Kumaris? I'm not quite sure. Because it's like a flower that opens very, very slowly. It takes time to figure out what it really is. And you go along thinking it is something for quite some time, and then you find actually it's not, it's something else. And you can say that you're doing it on different levels. Every time you go to another level, it's different. Or you can say that you understood the language one way, and then after a while you understand the same language but different way. You have a completely different understanding of what is the meaning of I am a soul. Suddenly you get moments of clarity, and you say, oh, this is it. Or what is the drama? Or who is Shiv Baba? Because you're going slowly from a devotee, more or less, to somebody who knows. So devotees have ideas about God that are all wrong as far as he's concerned. And when you come into interaction with someone over a long period of time, you discover them. And so it's a lifetime discovery. It's good that we have a lot of time so we can discover him. And when he says, everything that happens in drama is good. And you have to say, okay, what's good about this scene and that scene and the other? All of it is to make you strong, experienced, independent, skilled, clear, and successful. You also discover yourself, your potential gradually becomes revealed. And you realize also that the essence of yourself is actually quite independent of all the things that happen to you. There may be many things that happen to you that are very bad, very traumatic, very damaging, very everything, but ultimately, so what? It's a part of the performance. It's nothing to do with you. Very interesting that he said all your sins are fixed in drama, so you don't have any option. You have to do them. Then you have to pay for them. And it's a kind of cosmic joke. But then you enjoy. Does anybody have any questions? Happy Christmas to everyone. It's holidays, right? Anyway, Saturday's holidays. Anyway, we're all locked down, so. Okay, there is a person, BK, who wants to help another BK in construction. and he just wants me to pay for the materials, and he is going to give the labor. And so there are questions. Should I pay him directly? Should I put in Baba's books? Should I decline and find an outside person? I don't want any karmic bondage with any BK. So I think that according to my experience in the BK world, what Daddy Janki used to recommend to people who would ask a question like this is definitely pay the person for the materials. And if the person doesn't want you to pay for the labor, then that is their contribution, because they're doing it for the love of the Brahman world. And then you can put that, what you think is appropriate, on his behalf in Baba's books. And then everything is as it should be. That is how it is done. There was an interesting scene in the drama that I was involved in one time, connected with this project I did about writing books for the university course about values and spirituality. And the vice chancellor of the University of South Gujarat, where I was teaching it, came to Baba. He was a very, very good man. And then he met Baba on stage, Avyakt Bapdada. And Baba said to him that because he is facilitating the distribution of this course in the university system, then whatever is the karmic benefit that I get for whatever I was doing, he gets a share in it. So these very subtle details of karma philosophy were sort of laid out, and you come to know them situation by situation. So this situation is also that, this brother is doing something and you're putting the payment in Baba's books. So his work is then receiving benefit of it being something for the yajna. And so his accumulation would be very large by doing it that way. And so would yours, because everything is like as a trustee. And it's very good to do it like that. Okay, there's a question. An actor on stage normally pretends to be someone else other than himself. What does it mean to be authentic while playing your part in drama? A good actor is said to enter the character of the person they play so that they can play that character authentically. And I think that that's quite a good guide for us, because we have to play roles. We are in relationships with people, and we have to design our role. How am I going to play this? You see, because this big question of who am I is there. So you have to see your sanskaras, and then you have to see the circumstances, because everyone is always in a circumstance. And circumstances arise, persist for some time, and then they fade away. So life is like that, a series of circumstances. The circumstance may last for a very, very long time. Like, for example, typical circumstance, you get born, you grow up in your parents' house, go to school, play your part in that house, and then you get married and go to a different family. And then you have to adjust to that family. And then you have to find your place in that family. And you find your place, partly they will tell you what is expected of you, and partly you negotiate. So these roles are all to do with negotiation. And you assume certain responsibilities which correspond to what you're competent at and comfortable with. And you begin to do that, and that becomes expected of you. And then you have to keep doing it. And then there are some things that are expected of you that are imposed on you. And this is where you negotiate. That I will do to this extent. And I had an interesting situation like that with Daddy Janki one time when I said to her, look, this is me, this is what I will do, this is what I won't do. Take it or leave it. She said, I'll take it. But it was a very good thing to do it like that, because you see, when you're trained as a Brahma Kumari, it's always Haji to everything, and you have to do what you're told and all this business. But that has to only apply for a certain period of time. But a lot of people think that it applies forever. But no, it's not like that. Once you understood the pieces of the game, then you need to start negotiating for your spot. And you do that. And you have principles, right? Everybody has principles. And you will not cross those principles for anyone or anything. Is that right? So there are times occasionally where somebody wants you to break your principles, and then you have to decide. Because if you break your principles, then you go against your conscience. And they will try to make you break your principles because they want to use you for their convenience, right? It's always like that. And so if you don't, then they will make you pay. So you have to decide what's more expensive, going against your conscience or going against somebody's inappropriate desires. They will make you pay quite high, but you will remain true to yourself. So it seems to me in Baba's eyes, it's better. Don't sell your soul for anything. And when you have this personal life policy, then nobody can break you. But if you sell your soul in exchange for a little this and a little that, you don't have any power. You're not a king. So up to you. You decide. This is called freedom of choice. But you have to be clear about who you are and what you will do and what you won't do. If you have a vice, I remember one time, I think it was when I was living in LA, or it may have been in early days in San Francisco, I can't remember, but there was a guy who came to the center and said, oh, I want to make a donation to the center of X number of thousands of dollars. It was a large amount. And I said to him, why? You're nothing to do with us. Why you want to make a donation? He said, well, I'll give you a donation of this much, and you give me a receipt for it, and then I'll give you a small amount, I said, who the hell do you think you are? Get out of here right now. So there are people who try something. They try something on you. And, the rules that Baba has given us, we don't do fundraising. We don't, we are creating our own kingdom for our own selves with our own money. And we do not do things that are beyond our means. We do not go into debt. And Dadi Janki was very adamant about that. And this is all because people can easily get tempted by some sort of a bribe. They get corrupted. Corrupted means you break your principles. Some people, they do other things they try to break you, and these principles that Baba has given us, these are boundaries. And if someone wants to cross that boundary, he's given you the force of this is a clear boundary. And if someone wants to cross that boundary, have a nice day, get out of here. And so sometimes you have to be quite firm. So Baba's principle of simplicity is good. Stay within your means. Do you live like that?
Talk about the brotherly love, like why brotherly love, like all of us are brothers. What is the quality of brothers when he's talking about that? Why does he say that you all are brothers?
Because the relationship between a brother and a brother requires love and regard, those two things. There's no further obligation. So brotherly love is the least, the one where there is the least amount of obligation. And so it is the best approach to another human being, where the give and take is very, very clear. It's easy to negotiate when you see, this is my brother, this is my brother, this is my brother. If you think any other relationship, then the social conventions will dictate to you what that relationship means in terms of what you have to give, which is usually going to put you in karmic bondage. And so if you see the relationship, mother, sister, brother, aunt, uncle, friend, whatever, colleague, whatever, as role, and then you design your role in terms of that circumstance, that relationship. But the fundamental principle of your relationship with the person is brother. And then you see the role. So as brother, love and regard. There is nothing in the role that involves not having love and regard. However you design it, if it doesn't have love and regard, then you haven't designed it well. Then you see the circumstance and the role, and you see, okay, in this role, what are the good ways to play this role? And you have to understand the nature of the relationship so that you play the role according to the implications of the relationship. And there are many Murlis in which Baba says you have to fulfill the implications of the relationship. And so if it's a father and a son, right? So the implications is he has to provide, home and food and education, and set that boy up so that he is financially independent, that he has a good spot in the society, and that he knows how to conduct himself in all the situations he's likely to encounter. That. And if the son is receiving this in a way that is positive, then there's no problem. But if the son is not studying, you've given him an education, he's not studying, then he's breaking his side of the social contract. When if the father goes off and womanizing and drunkard and this and that, then he's not fulfilling his side of the social contract. And this is where the family is dysfunctional, is where the social contract is not being fulfilled. And we have to really sit down with ourselves and write down what is the reality of my social contract with this person, that person, and the other person. And then you do your side of it. You cannot take responsibility for the other person's side of it, but you have to make sure that you do not enable them. So a person may want to do something in a certain way, and you will know that that's not the right thing. So you don't go along with it. They can do what they want, but you're not going to collaborate with it. See? So you keep your thorns. No. You want to go out and get drunk? Don't expect. You're not allowed in this house if you're drunk. Stay out. You have that right. Though the person will say, no, it's my house, blah, blah, blah. You broke your contract. You're not allowed. Sorry. Om Shanti. Behave yourself. Contract is not? The contract is not written, so that's why it's a good idea to write it. Please take the microphone.
The contract is not written between the father and son in this case, for example, and the son goes to the police and the law works for the child. This was one of the situation, real life situation.
Mm-hmm. The difficulty that everybody has is highly dysfunctional behavior. And the laws are created by people who have some idea. This is why the Manusmriti was written. It's a codification of all the possible different relationships. But the problem with the Manusmriti is that they identify people as primarily males and females. And so there is a gender bias, and there is also an age bias and a caste bias. And because of these biases, whatever they wrote in good faith turned out to be not very good, because it went against the laws of God, against the laws of karma. And so it worked for a while, provided the people were virtuous and did not take advantage of their privileges that were assigned to them by the law. And, you know, like in some cases that are going on at the moment concerning the riots of Capitol Hill that happened after the presidential election. And people are saying, well, we have executive privilege, and so therefore we're not accountable. And so there is a question that, you know, should you really be not accountable for this kind of behavior because you have executive privilege, but it's assumed that you won't misbehave like this, but you did misbehave. So that means that the people who put together the law in good faith are finding themselves in a situation which is not anticipated by the creation of the law. And so when Shiv Baba is giving us the example of Brahma Baba plus the laws of karma, and Brahma Baba had to go through all sorts of situations as a father with his children, his sons, his daughters, how you have to do when the relationship is like this or like that, what happens, his relationship with the community of which he was part of, the business community, the social community, his interaction with the British government, and then they came as refugees from Pakistan to India, so they had to make a relationship with the new Indian government, which went through many changes. Society changed through this process. So actually, even in the BK Yagya, there are changes, because in the last 2 or 3 years, almost all the dadis have left the body, and Shiv Baba, Brahma Baba, Avyat Bapdada is no longer coming. And so that the system that we had of everything being according to Shrimat, and Baba would give all sorts of Shrimats to everybody individually, lots of advice and so on. And then this responsibility went to the dadis, but without Bap Dada, without dadis, that system is all of a sudden not there anymore. And so what do we have is we have the Murli. And so therefore we have to think about, okay, we have to rethink our social contract with each other. And it requires a lot of thought. And you remember that I was talking yesterday about Christianity, and that there were these councils that were done, 7 or 8 councils. And I talked about the first one and the 7th one, which were the councils of Nicaea. And this is where they determined, this is what Christianity is, because up until that time, it was just, everything was just following the traditions that were created, but too much time went past and no more disciples of Christ, no more Christ on earth. So then they had to decide, okay, what is this? And formalize it into a religion. And because also it became the religion of state of the Roman Emperor Constantine. And so it became a political thing. And in BKs, it's not a religion of state of India by any means. It's still a very small spiritual gathering, but yet it's having to look at itself and say, okay, who are we, and how do we do things? And so this requires thought. And so people are thinking, what is next? How do we do it? We do not have anyone who's like a visible big spiritual leader. We have many people who are experienced yogis with many years behind them. That's not the same thing. So, and in the BK world and in the Lokik world, I mean, people are facing the same thing because the pressures of circumstances are very, very intense. And climate change, degradation of agriculture, lack of funds, economic problem, social problems, huge refugee problem, wars, this and that, and COVID and so on. So circumstances are not really very manageable. And so humanity is scratching its head saying, oh, what's going on? What shall we do? And there isn't any clear answer for it. So we have to continue to think, okay, what shall we do? And we're at a very good advantage because Baba's given us so much preparation for very disturbed times, very disturbed relationships. And so we have a lot to go on in comparison with others, which means that in many ways we can take a leadership role in terms of, as Baba was mentioning, tomorrow, you will see, the Avyak Murli. He wants people who are examples of how you do things. And so this is what we have to be. That if you want to know how to do this or how to do that or how to handle yourself in this or that situation, see a Raj Yogi. And for Raj Yogis, it is said, see Brahma Baba. But other people can't see Brahma Baba, it's too far away. But they can see a Raj Yogi. How does a Raj Yogi handle this or that? Because people will say, we really don't know how to deal with this. And so Baba has really prepared us in a very powerful way, in some ways unbeknownst to us, because we just go along with everything he says, right? And then we realize, oh, all of this is preparation for very hard times. We saw this when the COVID lockdown started, how difficult it was for people to be restricted and limited and this and that. And even now, how many people are, very uncertain. What is this vaccination? And why do we have to have a vaccination if it doesn't work? You have to have 3 booster, 4 booster, 5 booster. And why and what? And they don't want to be cooped up together with people that they don't get along with. And there's a huge increase in domestic violence and so on. But for us to be stuck together is okay. We don't have a problem, right? Do you see any problem? No? Om Shanti.